Jaylen Pitre gets an extension. Smart decision or not? There's a lot to get into. Let's dive into that. Plus, what is Nick Caley telling us about these tight ends and which one would you rather have? A lot to get into. TGIF, less than 2 weeks away from the draft. Let's go, baby.
Yeah. It's the Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every.
It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. I am Landry Locker. You can see me here throughout the week, 10:30. Also hear me. And also on S&L with Cody Stutes, Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock. We're going to be at Houston's favorite brewery. 2 weeks and change, 2 Saturdays, April 26th. I've been getting a lot of BS, a lot of crap for saying that we're going to be there 3 Saturdays from today. I personally like that approach, but I've been getting a little bit of crap for that. But April 26th, 11 a.m., be out there at Karbach. We got you. We'll hold it down out there and celebrate the first 2 days of the draft as well as consume the third. So be sure to be out there, and I appreciate everyone for rolling through. Let's hop right into this Jaylen Pitre thing, the contract extension. The Texans have they've extended Jaylen Pitre. They give Jaylen Pitre a contract extension. One of the favorites of the organization, Nick Caley loves him. D'Amico Ryans loves him. Seems to have a lot of fanhood in town as well. And quite frankly, Jaylen Pitre is an easy guy to like. He is about as swarm as they get. He's one of the guys that D'Amico Ryans mentioned in his opening press conference. He had a good rookie season, then had an awful second season. And then last year, D'Amico Ryans found a role for him that appears to work to the point that the Texans, you can figure out what position he plays, but the Texans made him pretty much the highest paid nickel corner in the league. Now we can say where he lines up. We know he's not a full-time safety. That's kind of been made clear, not in this defense. And he's kind of a hybrid guy, but now if we're just saying nickel corner, he's one of the higher paid nickel corners in the league. Texans cap has the breakdown of the money. Aaron Wilson also put the money out as well. So if you want to check that out there, but for the sake of keeping it simple, stupid, talking to myself, we will just say that he's the highest paid nickel corner in the league. On the super chat, Evan says, "You ain't never hate." Swarm. What a perfect day for Landry Locker? ? I don't know what that means, but every Friday is a perfect day. It's hard to have bad Fridays. Like, unless you have like something really stressful going on or something at work, it's hard to have bad Fridays. Like, even if you have to work, like you've had jobs where you have to work the weekend, just the fact that the roads are going to be more clear, the vibe, it's hard to have a bad Friday. So, yes, I will say this is a perfect day. I'm not sure exactly what's going on in your mind, Evan, but I will go ahead and co-sign that. Let's get into the 5 biggest things to make, or 5 biggest thoughts that I think need to be addressed with this Jaylen Pitre thing. Also, we'll talk about the C word, and if maybe some of the other moves the Texans have made have kind of factored in, and we can kind of combine those two. We'll try to find contract extensions to compare this to. And also interesting development when it comes to the draft and what the offensive coordinator has told us. We got a lot to get into. It is the TGIF edition, but let's just get into number 1 when it comes to this Jaylen Pitre extension. 1 through 5. Thought 1, that C word. Jaylen Pitre is a culture guy. And the reality is, we can sit here and we can talk about, and I'm sure we will, we can talk about what type of player Jaylen Pitre is, what type of player Jaylen Pitre isn't. But let's just put that aside and acknowledge that this is about more than the player. This is about more than just the player. Nick Caserio has been quoted saying, if everyone was Jalen Pitre, we'd be a pretty damn good football team. D'Amico Ryans has talked about Jalen Pitre being a swarm type of guy. D'Amico Ryans praised him for being around the team after he got hurt and working out. You hear nothing but good things from him, from his teammates. He's one of the top guys in the community, if not the top guy in the community. So I'm not saying this is the end all be all, but it does matter, especially in that building, that when it comes to swarm, when it comes to culture, when it comes to iron sharpens iron, Jalen Pitre's that guy. He's that guy. So this is a factor in the Texans making this decision. And I think it's a factor in a lot of the decisions they make, but this one especially. He's a culture guy. He's a D'Amico guy. He's a Caserio guy. So we can get into the type of player, and we will, but this is about culture. Now, there was a lot of talk about culture with the Laremy Tunsil deal. Laremy Tunsil was a really, really good player. Whether or not culture was a factor, I think it probably factored in a little bit. Jaylen Pitre is a culture guy. So this is about more than what he actually does on the field and what he can or cannot do there. So the C word is alive and well when it comes to Jaylen Pitre. Thought too, and this is just me. Some people may disagree. This contract extension feels too early. It feels unnecessary and it feels too early. And I get the counter to it is, well, the value might go up. Really? Like if Jaylen Pitre has a really good season once again, is someone going to money whip him? I think there's a case to be made that in D'Amico's system, there's a lot of value. In this building, there's a lot of value with Jaylen Pitre. So I don't know that he's going to go somewhere else and break bread. I don't think there's too many teams that are going to make him a regular starting safety. I don't think that's his role. And I don't know that there's too many teams that are going to make him the highest paid nickel corner in the league. So I've heard that, the contract could have gone up. He could have left, whatever. This feels early to me. It didn't feel necessary, especially given the fact that this is a position that is not easy on the body. This is why Jimmy Ward did not want to play it. And by the way, Jimmy Ward was pretty damn good at this last year before he got hurt. But this is a position. This is why Jimmy Ward wanted to come to the Texans and not play nickel, despite being arguably the best nickel in the game the year before he got here, is because it's excruciating. I mean, you're a smaller guy. You're close to the line of scrimmage. It can beat you down. And this feels like an early contract extension. I don't think that this deal was going to be much higher no matter what happened. Now, maybe Jalen Pitre comes out and has like some extraordinary season. That would be awesome. But even if we see what we saw last year, I think the money was going to be around the same. Furthermore, I think in this draft, if you look at some of the safeties and you look at some of the potential nickel guys, I think you could probably get some guys that can do similar type of things, and you don't have to pay them $13 million, whatever it was, annual value. So it feels early. And the last time that I felt this way, I thought that you probably didn't need to pay Nico Collins, although I understand it, because Nico Collins, and we'll get more into this a little bit later, Nico Collins is the number one target for your quarterback while he's on a rookie deal, and that extension is going to kick in while he's still on the rookie deal. The Pitre thing, you have more bills coming up. Like we heard about Laremy Tunsil. Like, were you thinking about Jalen Pitre when you traded Laremy Tunsil? So it feels relatively early for the Pitre extension. And the time that I really was confused was the Titus Howard thing. And we'll get more into that a little later on as we continue this countdown. But this just feels a little early. And I don't know how much the deal was going to go up. Thought 3, I think last year's day two kind of added to perhaps the flexibility that they feel that they can invest in paying Jalen Pitre. And I'm talking about two starters in the secondary, Kalen Bullock and Kamari Lassiter. These guys are going to be on rookie deals for the next few years. So your starting corner, you feel good that Kamari Lassiter is going to be a solid number 2 corner. He already is, but you feel like he's going to get even better. And then Kalen Bullock, you feel like is going to be one of your safeties. You're going to have 2 guys on rookie deals. Now, I'm not saying there's like a set budget for guys that you pay in the secondary. They're obviously paying Stingley a crap ton. But maybe that kind of factors into the fact that you have 2 starting DBs that are on rookie deals. So even if it's a little bit rich, given the fact that he is a culture guy and given the fact that he was a useful player last year, maybe you're more willing to pay Jaylen Pitre than you would be if you were paying, let's say Lassiter wasn't on his rookie deal and Stingley wasn't. So maybe this is some of that flexibility. They do love to invest on the defense, though. My God, do they love to invest on that defense? Goodness gracious. They love doing that. And they're pretty damn good at it. Got to get that offense right, but they're pretty good, damn good at it. Thought 4 on the Pitre extension. What does year 2 of Jaylen Pitre's role look like? Because last year kind of felt a little bit like kind of an adjustment to Christian Harris not being there. Now it kind of feels like this might be the way that they're going to play defense from here on out, where Jaylen Pitre, and we saw him play all the snaps for a decent extended period of time last year. Maybe this is just kind of the vision that they have when they decide to do this. I thought maybe there would be more 3 linebacker sets. I guess technically you consider Jaylen Pitre a linebacker. But what does year 2 of this role look like, and how does he perform? We saw him have a good rookie year, and then we saw him fall off in year 2. How does he perform? How does he follow it up? Because last time the encore, when Jaylen Pitre stock was high, it was a dud. It was a bad season. It was a rough season. It was a learning experience for him, but it was a dud. So what does the remix look like? What does the encore look like? That's another question. I'll have my popcorn ready and we'll see what that looks like. Next thought. And I want to compare this to the last two extensions that the Texans have given out, the last 2 prominent ones. Because I've seen some of the dialogue on the internet. I've seen some of the dialogue in the comments. And Stutz was kind of getting a little bit of pushback on saying that he thought this contract extension was early. But when we take the 2 most prominent contract extensions that Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans have handed out, Nico Collins and Titus Howard are the ones that come to mind. And you can almost make a case that, yeah, Nico probably would have gotten more money just because of what the wide receiver position is, but they weren't going to let him go. They would have put the tag on him and maybe negotiated or whatever. They weren't going to let him go. And you did see him miss a decent amount of time. So who knows what the deal would have been. But I don't see any comparison in Nico Collins' contract extension to the contract extension that Jaylen Pitre got. I think that's crazy to even throw those 2 in the same category. I think that's weird. This does feel a little bit Titus Howard-like, though, to me. Heading into the contract extension. I'm not saying that it ends up looking like Titus Howard. It's not as costly. It's not 100% proportional, but there does feel like there's some similarities. Now, obviously, we've seen it play out with Titus Howard and it didn't end up looking great. But if you look at Jaylen Pitre and you look at Titus Howard, you can make a case their rookie seasons were their most consistent seasons or most impressive seasons from start to finish. After that, you saw them in multiple roles, playing multiple positions. There was decent reason for optimism. and you extended them a year before you needed to. And like Titus Howard, I don't know. Like, if Titus Howard had an awesome season at right tackle, I don't think he's getting paid much more than he did. I don't think that price like soars up. I think he was a top 5 paid right tackle. I don't think that price soared up too much. In a realistic world with Jaylen Pitre going out there and playing at a high level, I don't know that contract really soars up either. This is not a bargain. Like, I saw the word bargain thrown out, and maybe the price goes up. I disagree with that. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I don't think that this is like some sort of bargain. Now, is it as costly as Titus Howard? No. Has D'Amico Ryan shown that he can get the job done with Jaylen Pitre in a certain role? Absolutely. And as we said at the very start, there's more to it than just the performance. They value what Jaylen Pitre brings beyond the football field. And they also think that kind of bleeds into what they do on the football field. So I think all of that needs to get factored in when you talk about the contract extension. I thought it was a little bit early, but it's not like you're paying a right tackle or a wide receiver. It's kind of a lower level type of thing, and they've shown that they're going to take care of their guys, and they value culture. And Jaylen Pitre is one of those guys. So that's just kind of where we're at with the Jaylen Pitre thing. I don't know what Jimmy Ward's role is on this football team. I don't know if he's going to be here. But that was a weird contract extension as well. There are a couple of realities as well that I think need to be addressed. And we already talked about reality number 2 on this list, that you have starters on rookie deals. So maybe there's a little bit more flexibility. So that's reality 2 we already touched on. Reality 1, he wasn't going to be a free agent. And that's what is always interesting when you start talking about contract extensions, is it almost starts getting talked about as if he was going to leave, but he wasn't. He was going to be on the team next year. So no one is saying, and I don't think Jaylen Pitre was going to leave no matter what. So I don't think he was going to leave. I didn't know that he was going to be getting as much as he got this early without going out there and playing, but he wasn't a free agent. So the notion that Jaylen Pitre was gonna leave, that's not the reality. They did this earlier than they needed to. And I think he's a useful football player. I said that last year. Getting a safety, I didn't think you could just dismiss what Jaylen Pitre could bring. He's a useful football player, and he's very valuable to what they want to do. So we'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting to see what the role looks like, see kind of how they build the roster around him. But that's that. The other reality of the situation is that in a league where there's a salary cap and there's certain chunks of pie that you have to maneuver, that you have to function, that's why you care about these contract extensions. I couldn't give a rat's ass if all these guys are rich. Nobody cares. I saw someone in Cody's comments saying, it's always weird when people care about getting paid. That's not even like remotely what it is. It's about the contract. You shouldn't be even going at Cody if you don't understand why people talk about the amount of money. It's not hating. Like, nobody cares if he's going to live in a mansion or something like that. It's because it adds a different element of how you divide the roster. Like, that level of stupidity is just insane. I saw that in Cody's comments, and I just think that's insane. So we'll see what happens with Jaylen Pitre. I thought it was a little bit early, but from the organization's point of view, they like Jaylen Pitre. They see a role for Jaylen Pitre, and they want him around. So there you go. I do think that we need to kind of look at the Laremy Tunsil move and the moves that they've made since as well. It is the locker room. You can catch me at 10:30. Also 4 o'clock on S&L. We will be at Karbach Brewery on the 26th at 11 a.m. Draft party. Hope to see you there. A lot of people have said that they will be out there. But when the Laremy Tunsil trade was made, it was kind of talked about how Laremy Tunsil moves a certain way, and not every offensive lineman can move that way. And they made the trade. They acquired draft picks, and basically they just brought in a bunch of guys on the offensive line. They haven't gotten anyone near the talent level of Laremy Tunsil, and quite frankly, it's hard to find guys with that much talent. But it's kind of been minimized, like the culture impact that Laremy Tunsil did or didn't have in the locker room by D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio, the same guys who said the offensive line wasn't that bad last year. So take what they say with a grain of salt. Don't treat what they say like the gospel. But if you look at what they've done since they got rid of Laremy Tunsil, like, it's not like they're just penny pinching around and saying, all right, now we're going to put this money in the mattress and we're going to wait till CJ Stroud and Will Anderson are eligible for their next deals, and we're going to figure some stuff out. You look at what they did, and Laremy Tunsil had 2 years remaining on his contract. They made Danielle Hunter one of the highest paid edge guys in the league. He's under contract. It was 1 year. There's 2. They made Jalen Pitre the highest paid nickel guy in the league and extended him. So it's not like they were just sitting around penny pinching. I mean, they kept Danielle around, and they paid Jalen Pitre, and oh, by the way, they paid Stingley too. 3 defensive guys. And 3 guys who kind of resemble what they say they want the Texans to be. You hear D'Amico Ryans talk about all 3 of those guys. So the culture, I think it factors in. And if you're going to tell me that the culture didn't factor into what they did and the decision they made with Laremy Tunsil, my question would be, why would that be the only time that they ignored that type of thing? Because I think it was a big factor in Jaylen Pitre. If Jaylen Pitre just plays, but he carries himself like Laremy Tunsil, and it's not a lead by example, D'Amico Ryans saying, hey, he's lifting every day here. Hey, he's iron sharpening iron. I love that he's here. Do you think he gets this extension? I would say hell no. It's just my opinion. People may have different opinions. It's not an uneducated opinion, but that's my opinion. I think the culture factored in as much as anything. Mellow Mike on the chat says, we pay people before they do something again, not when they earn it, like Stingley. We pay people before they do something again, not when they earn it, like Stingley. I'm not sure what that means. But I do think in the case of Pitre, like, we've seen guys extended because they have large bodies of work. Like, Shaq Mason got an extension. It's because of what he did in New England and the fact that they thought he was an established vet. Titus Howard, like I said, feels a lot like Pitre. We saw Nico Collins have a season where he was CJ Stroud's go-to guy. And we know how much receivers make, and we know that CJ was on his rookie deal. Danielle Hunter, Pro Bowl season for a long time, one of the more underrated pass rushers in the league. And then there's Jalen Pitre. I don't know where he falls into it, but I definitely don't think it's a Nico thing. I don't think it's there, but the Texans gave him the extension, and that's just kind of where they're at. Now, here's the question I have about this as we are approaching the draft. And 2 weeks from today, the Texans will have completed 2 days of the draft. So who knows what the hell we'll be talking about. But if the Texans are factoring in culture when they're making these moves, there's 2 guys in the draft that are 100% culture guys in the same category as Jalen Pitre, Will Anderson. And it's two guys that you're probably going to have to take at 25. These aren't guys that you're going to take a little bit later on. Number one's Tyler Booker. Tyler Booker out of Alabama is the offensive version of Will Anderson. He has visited with the Texans, and if culture is a factor, this guy checks every box, especially when you're trying to kind of reshape the identity of your offensive line. This guy checks every box. Very tippity top is Tyler Booker. Number two, and I find this interesting because we're talking about an Alabama guy that kind of has a relationship with Will Anderson and Tyler Booker. That kind of sounds like Will Anderson. And now we're going to be talking about an Ohio State guy, Emeka Egbuka, who's really close with C.J. Stroud and kind of resembles what the Texans are about on that side of the rock. So if culture is a thing, I think these are the two guys to keep an eye on at 25. I think it's safe to say Booker's there. I don't know if Egbuka's going to be there, but it is kind of funny that one of them played with Will Anderson and one of them played with C.J. Stroud. And I don't think that's the end all be all. That they're around that range and being mocked in that area by most people that are worth listening to this time of the year. But they do have the connections to C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson, who are kind of the faces of their side of the rock. So there's that. Mellow Mike has circled back around on his discussion about the extensions. Let's check out what he said. And shout out to everyone in the chat. He says, we paid Titus for what? Potential, maybe? I don't know. Or just flexibility because you had CJ on his rookie deal? Don't know. We paid Nico for one semi-healthy year. We paid Laremy for being a top left tackle, despite him not caring about run blocking. Now we have the highest paid nickel that couldn't cover. I think that's fair. Nico was fine. I think everyone is pleased with that, but I think those are fair statements. For sure. Team player says, can't wait till the draft is over so we can stop talking about it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be here, my friend. You can come back around the draft. But yeah, that's what we talk about, the draft. Fun. Not holding you hostage, my friend. It's fun time unless you just got the cabin fever. Andy asks, is there any pick that could fly under the radar from any teams that you like? At 25, not really. Like at 25, I think it's pretty set in stone as to what you could do. Maybe on day 2, there'll be some possibilities, and we'll have to see how that shapes up. But as far as like shocking the world or something like that at 25, I don't really see that. I think it's very clear who they're looking at 25. Team player says he just wants the season to start already. Man, you better buckle up, sir. You're 5 months away, literally 5 months away from the start of that season. That's damn near half a year. Booker or Banks, if he's available at 25, in my opinion. Of course, it's your opinion. You don't have to preface that, my friend. Yeah, I know they like Booker. Just common sense. Banks, I don't know what they think of him. But I think the fall of Banks is kind of probably one of those things that's being strongly exaggerated. Will there be a live stream during day 1 and 2 of the draft? Of course, man. Of course. Super streams the whole time. And then we'll have the party, Karbach, the 26th at 11 a.m. We'll just have a live wrap-up show from there. But we're going to drink beer and eat pizza. And that pizza looks pretty good. That pizza and pints, they just got a pizza spot. They're giving us the stage in the whole area with all the Karbach brew. Y'all better be there. We got some stuff to give away, and we want to break bread with you. So be there at that for sure. MA, he says that Emeka at 1 and Samson at 2 is his dream draft. So you want him at 58? I think Samson will be there at 58. Unless there's just like a massive running back room. I've become a Judkins guy. I've been very sold on him. I also like Hampton and Henderson. So I like those backs. Samson's interesting. I mean, 1 year as a starter, and he was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. But he's one of those guys who kind of just feels like he's above tier 1, and some people don't have him at the top of tier 2. I do like the nugget that I've mentioned a couple times where he went to the same school as the Reeds, Landon Collins, and Eddie Lacy, and was the only non-kicker to play as a freshman there. So that's a little bit of a flex. But I'm not as high on Samson. He is in my top 7. I like him better than Scatabo, which I think most people do. But I'll be a little bit disappointed if they don't end up with one of the top 3, top 4 guys. Not John asks, do you put pineapple on pizza? No, not at all. Can't really F with that. I know it's a polarizing topic. Wifey, daughter, I think they're down with it. It's just a wasted pie. If you're going to like pineapple on pizza, you better be ready to scarf down at least half the pie. Like, because normally when you order pie, like, you're probably getting 2 pizzas for like a normal family. And then, like, if you have some bros over or you're having a pizza party, there's like 5. Don't you always hate when someone's like picky with pizza and then they eat like 2 pieces and all of a sudden like four pies are scarfed down and you're looking in that box and all you see is that nasty ass, soggy ass pineapple there. And you're like, man, why the hell did we order this? Why couldn't you have just eaten some cheese or something like that? You can't be selfish with the pie. And that's what we talk about with the contract, with the salary cap. Pie, slices of pie. You got to be unselfish when you're having that pizza party. But nah, pineapple on pizza, I'm good on that. Black olives, they absolutely suck too. Not a fan. Ugh. I'll fight through them on a supreme pizza, but ugh. And there's a lot of them. Not great at all. So nah, pineapple on pizza, nah. But I'm telling you, that pizza and pints at Karbach, you know Karbach ain't going to half-ass anything. How many people in the chat are going to be at the draft party? I think we're rolling pretty deep right now. We had the party last year that was decent. It was downtown, though. A little bit of a pain in the ass to park. This is easy parking. It's at Karbach. It's right on the edge. It's on a Saturday. So there's not going to be much traffic. Everybody likes Karbach brew. I'm a Hopadillo guy. Hazy Hopadillo IPA. Little Love Street change-up. Don't threaten me with a Crawford Bach. Sprinkle in some pizza. Yeah, it's dog friendly for sure. Yeah, of course. Come through, Siraj. RA says dog friendly. Yeah, I think it's dog friendly. Karbach dogs. Most breweries are. I'll check here. Pretty positive. Karbach Brewing dog friendly. Yes, kids are welcome at Karbach. Dogs are welcome in the beer garden, which is where we are. So there you go. In the beer garden, dogs welcome. So yes, you can bring the dog for sure. Roll through. See you there. Cameron G asks a question on the chat. If you could choose any wide receiver for the Texans to trade for, who would it be? Are we talking I'll circle back to this, but just, are we talking rookie or are we talking vet? Because, I mean, like, we were talking Olave and Garrett Wilson at the start of the year. I kind of roll my eyes at that because, I mean, let's be serious. That's kind of expensive. Nah. Victor says he's in Pennsylvania. Hey, appreciate you for holding us down in Pennsylvania. Or else you'd be there. All good, man. We'll pour one up for you. HDAV Traveler on the soup. You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Pineapple on pizza. Gross. Preach. Very much with you. Hopefully Cody can get a grip on his drinking. I'm telling you, 2 beers, he's done. It's insane. Someone says he's in Toronto. Shout out to that. Shout out to Toronto. Shout out to the Canadians. Good friends out there in Canada. I want to get into the offensive prospects. And this has kind of been a point that I've hammered home because it's one of the big mysteries of the offseason is what the hell is Nick Caley's offense and what the hell does he like? And I look at the top left. We don't really have to look at anything else. I think there's top left and bottom right are the 2 most encouraging things for me because the way that they're talking to running backs, it almost feels like we might get 2, which is what I've been asking for a long time. Like if you take Jaden Blue, Brashard Smith, and you pair them with a true running back, then that is my dream. Y'all know this. I want multiple running backs that can make plays, 2 guys that can receive, another guy that can do pretty much everything right behind Joe Mixon, who's one of the better backs in the league. So sign me up for that. I like where your mindset's at, Nick Caley. That is an easy way to win me over. Take multiple running backs. I've been begging for this shit for way too long. I've been on the air in Houston since 15, 16, and I've been begging for running backs every year, and it never happens. So if that's the first thing Nick Caley does, he gets a receiving back and he gets a bruiser, he's already won me over. The other thing that I find intriguing, and we heard Nick Caley say, you know, he has the tight end background, and he says that he likes tight ends. The other thing that I really find interesting is Elijah Arroyo and Gunnar Helm are, for the most part, these guys are receiving tight ends. And Arroyo's kind of a super talent. He's from the Frisco area. Helm, tall and lanky guy at Texas. You might remember him, number 85. Really just kind of came into his own this year. Didn't have a good combine, but he's an NFL caliber ball player. Arroyo, he could end up being an absolute stud. But I think the fact that Nick Caley is open to talking to these 2 guys kind of tells you that he wants some explosiveness out of the tight end position. And I think when you look at what Cade Stover can be and what Cade Stover, I think is going to work his ass off into trying to become, that's a perfect long-term pairing. Like there's certainty with Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is not going to be on this football team past this year. I think he can still be useful. He sucks at blocking. Hopefully you use him better, but he can be a useful piece. Past this year, bye-bye. He's damn sure not playing for what they got him scheduled to make in year 3 of his contract, and he's creeping up on year 2. Brevin Jordan, who knows? It's a low-risk thing with Brevin Jordan. There's not like a lot of guaranteed money there. Maybe they can find something useful for Brevin Jordan. I think they might be able to. But who knows? 1-year contract. So you essentially have Brevin Jordan and Dalton Schultz on 1-year contracts. Cade Stover's going into year 2 of 4 on a rookie deal. You bring in one of these guys to kind of compliment him and see what goes on. I think there's a lot of intrigue there. And I think it also shows that Nick Caley has some sort of imagination. Assuming that he's the one that's behind these visits, and why the F would he not be? I mean, he's looking at 2 guys. You're looking at 2 guys that are mainly receiving running backs in Blue and Smith, who we've been begging for out of Texas and SMU. And then he has the workhorses in Omarion Hampton and Quinshon Judkins. My number 1 and 2 running backs. And I don't put Genty on my list because he's not going to be a Texan. So I don't waste my time. If you want to count Genty, number 2 and 3. So he's open-minded there. You also factor in Caleb Johnson. But I think the fact that he is looking at tight ends that are more receiving just kind of shows where his mind's at. And it shows that Nick Caley might very well be an open-minded play caller. And he might have some of the New England stuff that I like, which is 2 tight end sets and multiple running backs that can effing make plays. Multiple slots, too. A lot of these guys line up in the slot, and they already have Christian Kirk. Multiple slots, multiple tight ends, multiple running backs that can make plays. Do not threaten me with a good time. Nick Caley, you might be winning me over. My question is this, though. If you had to pick one of these tight ends, and keep in mind, Arroyo's probably a day 2, second or third round pick. Now, you do have the extra third round pick. Maybe he's the kind of guy that you use when you have the extra pick. Helm might be a fifth round pick, could be 4th. The combine did not help him. But if you had to pick a tight end, would you rather have Arroyo or would you rather have Helm? That would be the question. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Arroyo or Helm? Stute said Helm because of where he's going to get picked. Arroyo, there's a lot of upside there. If you're able to tap into that potential, keep him. I mean, now, if Bobby Slowick was the OC and you were asking Arroyo or Helm really to line up and block defensive ends one-on-one all the time, that would be a problem. I think Cade Stover's going to be that guy. Cade Stover's getting jacked right now. Guarantee you that he is on that Nolan Ryan old school workout.
Every day it's just me and a pile of iron.
So we'll see what he has. But Arroyo or Helm, I would take Arroyo. I like Helm fine. I get the value. But if you got Arroyo in this mix, more of a non-traditional tight end, and they like him enough to make that pick, give me Arroyo. Especially when you have that extra third. And my God, if you trade back, that's even better. That's even better. So sign me up for Arroyo and sign me up for these visits. These visits are extremely, extremely intriguing. Extremely intriguing. Blue does fumble. Watched every play of his career. You don't want him running between the tackles quite often. You want to use him in the pass game, which I don't think Sark did enough. I know he did it when he was desperate against Ohio State, but yeah, he has the smallest hands at the combine, so that might kind of explain that. But yeah, he does have fumbling issues. You're not drafting him to be a workhorse. He's a complimentary back. I think you draft one of these top guys, and then if Blue is there, then you figure it out. But yes, he fumbles a lot. It's a problem. Sometimes it almost felt like they were square peg round holing him though. When they tried to make him into like the every down back. Who do you want the Texans to take in the 7th round, or what's the best case scenario? I haven't really thought that far ahead. 7th round? Don't know. I would imagine D'Amico is probably going to want to get a defensive guy. They visited with 2 linebackers that I don't even think are expected to get drafted. So I would think D'Amico would want a defensive guy. Kobe Bryant being there wouldn't be bad. Kobe Bryant out of Kansas. They visited with him. Small guy. Dog is a term that always gets brought up. If he's there, that would be cool. If he drops because of his size. He's got some talent, though. So maybe he won't be there. So I'll say Kobe Bryant. Bryant would be my guy. Seems like the Helm stuff is getting there. Any chance Loveland falls to 25? No. I'll say no. 0 chance. We're coming off the Brock Bowers thing. It's a weak receiving group. So no, I would say there's no chance he's there at 25. If he is, then I think they take him. They take him. And then you would just look at that as he's probably the best pass catcher at that time. He's definitely your long-term tight end guy. And he's not a great blocker, but it could be a lot worse. You're not drafting him to block. That's the other thing I like about looking at these receiving tight ends. I really don't care if they can block or not, as long as they're willing. I mean, in a perfect world, you'd love to have George Kittle, but it doesn't necessarily work like that. But yeah, if Loveland's there at 25, you take him. That's not happening now. Matt Golden over anyone, I just don't think it's happening. I know he visited with Dallas a couple of days ago. His stock is soaring up, it appears. I don't see Matt Golden being a possibility unless they want to trade up. And I don't know that trading up for Matthew Golden is smart. I like him. I don't like him that much. I think Loveland might end up in Indianapolis. They want Tyler Warren. I'm really watching New England and Jacksonville and wondering if they're going to, like, Genty and Warren are worth looking at. But yeah, I think if Indianapolis doesn't get him, they just go ahead and settle for Loveland, who's a hell of a player. But he's not getting to the Texans. I don't think that happens at all. What's Cody drinking? He's probably going to drink like Love Street or something. No, I'm not saying that like a bad thing. I was just trying to guess. I don't think he's really like an IPA guy. So whatever's the lightest, he'll probably have that. He might have a, I don't know. He'll try something weird. Like they'll have a season on him. Like, oh, let me try that. Let me get a sample of that. Cody's sample guy. Oh, let me try that beer. Don't you hate being by sample guy at like the brewery or the bar? Or like the ice cream place? Hey, can I try a sample of this? Oh, how about that? Let me see that. I think I like, oh, what about that one? Sample beer guy. Can I get a sample of the beer? Your sample is a pint. That's the sample. Now, this is probably where you kind of got to tone down the drinking, but that was always the sample. You try it. Baddest mofo I ever saw at Love Street is like their blonde beer there. It's good as hell. Crawford Bach's awesome too. He'll probably have Crawford Bach. Crawford Bach's elite. He'll probably have Crawford Bach. But the craziest dude I ever saw, like I was sitting at a bar. I think it was after show or something. And I was sitting at the bar. I think the Astros were playing or something. It was like a 2:30 pitch. And I was sitting at the bar and this dude sits down by me and he orders like an IPA. I think it was I don't know if it's a Hopadillo, but he orders an IPA and he got it dressed. He got it like with salt and lime and all that, like an IPA, which just kind of seemed really gross to me. Then I started thinking, man, is he onto something? And I thought, nah, I don't need to dress the IPA. I don't even really like dressing the Rona. I don't really want salt on the guy. You give me a lime, that's fine. I don't need the salt, margaritas or anything. But this dude dressed his IPA and he looked nuts, dude. I didn't see what he was driving. He might have been driving a van, for all I know. Maybe an ice cream truck. This crazy SOB. Oh, dressed. They're like, what? I had to repeat it like 3 times. Absolutely insane. So I thought about this, and I don't know that this is getting enough attention, or maybe it just doesn't deserve attention. Maybe that's kind of where it is. But you look at all these guys over the years that have been drafted by the Texans, and a lot of times it feels like draft picks get like extra opportunity, even if when you look back, we probably should have known, okay, this guy's not going to be, he is not going to validate where he was selected in the draft. And we saw it with Kenyon Green. Like, it was very obvious Kenyon Green, it wasn't going to work here. Whatever the reason was, injuries, scheme, just needing to get out of his comfort zone, whatever it was obvious. And he never fully looked like a guy that was going to be a long-term starter at guard. It never happened. Never happened. But he got 3 years to figure it out. Kenyon Green did. Same thing with John Mechie. We've seen 3 years. And I know obviously he went through what he went through the rookie year, so you kind of push that to the side. Year 2, not really much. Year 3, not really much. It's kind of obvious. And we knew that it wasn't going to work out. You look at Ross Blacklock, 2020. Ross Blacklock didn't get that third year. Mechie got his third year. We don't know if he's going to get the fourth of being on the actual roster. Kenyon Green got his third. He didn't get his fourth. Ross Blacklock got cut year 3. They didn't give a damn. It was obvious. They weren't going to tread water anymore. They weren't going to stay on that mediocre treadmill. And I don't even know what the hell Ross Blacklock's up to right now. I guess he was on some team, but he's not doing much. So, are we sure Juice Scruggs is going to be on the team next year? Because I find myself, and I see all that these guards that they're bringing in. I see that on that list, they're visiting with a center in Jake Majors, who's a true center, true leader out of Texas. He was one of the leaders of that team. So they're open to bringing in a center, true center. Is Juice Scruggs going to be closer to Kenyon Green and John Mechie? Or is he going to be Ross Blacklock? Or can he rise above it? Because I'll be honest, it's really hard for me when I look at this offensive line to just completely say unequivocally that Juice Scruggs is going to be a starting guard or center on this offensive line. It's hard to imagine. It hasn't been solid. It hasn't been solid. And the communication is way better when Jared Patterson's in at center. It looks it, at least. It looks like guys at least know what they're doing in certain areas. Now, Caserio insists that Juice Scruggs is a better center than guard. Whatever. Whatever you say. The reality is he hasn't been very good at either, and neither one of those performances at those positions validates the second round pick. I'm not dismissing it. I'm just saying, while we're not dismissing the possibility, should we be open to the possibility that Juice Scruggs might be 2 and done like Ross Blacklock? I think it's possible. And I don't know what Cole Popovich thinks of him. I don't know what Nick Caley thinks of him. But it can't be great. It can't be great. Cole Popovich has watched what it's looked like. Nick Caley knows how to watch tape. What did Sean McVay say about him? He looks at the game through that all 22 lens that the coaches always talk about. So it's not like they're sitting there looking at their 5, like they're on the board writing, left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, and saying, oh, we got to put Juice at one of these spots. I don't think you can count on that. I think we can count on a lot of these young guys getting opportunities, figure stuff out. I don't think Juice. I think at this point, Juice Scruggs is fighting for his roster spot. And quite frankly, these guys that they brought in, it wouldn't shock me if they beat out Juice Scruggs. I mean, do we see a Jared Patterson, Juice Scruggs battle? Because if you do bring in Jake Majors, he's everything they want. We talked about culture guys at the start. I didn't put Jake Majors on the list because Jake Majors is going to be a day 3 guy out of Texas. But he's a true center. If they bring him in, he's a true center. Do we see a Jared Patterson, Juice Scruggs battle? The 6th round pick from a couple years ago versus the 2nd round pick? I mean, what would surprise you more? I think this is the best way to ask the question. What would surprise you more? Would you be more surprised by Juice Scruggs being an awesome starting center or guard? Or would you be more surprised by Juice Scruggs not being on the team? Which would surprise you more? Like, do you think it's possible Juice Scruggs is awesome next year? Again, not dismissing either possibility, but which would surprise you more? I think I'd be more surprised by him being an awesome starting center, quite frankly. Just from what I've seen. I'd be more surprised by that. And the other thing about it, and I said this when I brought up the Tunsil talk and all that, is, Nick Caserio said this, D'Amico said that about the offensive line. Okay. They also said it wasn't that bad last year and that people were being too negative, and they've gotten rid of they got rid of the coach, they got rid of the OC, and they got rid of most of the players that were on it. So when they talk about the weaknesses of the football team, they're always going to protect the players. What Nick Caserio says about the offensive line, I don't expect him to be completely honest about it. And quite frankly, based on what we've seen and what people were saying, and the fact that there was like some sort of like mansplain about how it wasn't as bad as people thought, I think you just kind of take what they say. I don't even know if you take it with a grain of salt. I think you just take it in one ear, out the other with what they say about the offensive line. We'll see if that's the case with Caley. Maybe Caley can hold it down. But I don't believe what they say about that. And I don't know if Juice Scruggs is a good guard or center. There's some interesting stuff on this offensive line. Like these, for so much uncertainty about this offensive line. Like there's some young guys on this offensive line that you have no clue about and you don't quite frankly feel awesome about. Blake Fisher, how's he going to fit in? Does Nick Caley like him? Does Popovich like him? You would hope so, given the fact that they got rid of Tunsil and given the fact that they drafted him when they liked their tackles. So it kind of looked proactive. What does he look like? We haven't seen enough to be down on him like you are Juice Scruggs. But what does he look like? What does Scruggs look like? What does Patterson look like? And then after that, you just have a bunch of veterans and a bunch of guys pre-draft. But I'm putting Juice Scruggs, like he is extremely on the bubble right now. And if the draft comes around and let's say that they have an opportunity to take a right guard or a center at the right point, Juice Scruggs ain't stopping them from doing that. That's a promise. He's not stopping them from doing that. I think with Pitre, with Gardner Johnson, they're not taking a safety early in the draft. They will stop him from doing that. They ain't stopping from taking a guard or center. It would be very welcome if Juice Scruggs came in and had a good third season, and we look back and laugh at how he started. But I'll tell you this: if I'm sitting here at the imaginary locker room betting casino and I have to place that bet, I ain't betting on it. I ain't betting on it. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Be sure to pull up to Karbach 15 days from now, almost 14. The 26th, 11 a.m. in the beer garden, dog-friendly, kid-friendly, everything. And myself and Cody Stutz will be out there. And we better see y'all as well. We are 8 shows away till the draft actually starts. My gosh, The time is going to fly. Enjoy your weekend. There's no March Madness. Got a little bit of Astros. Do what you got to do. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. How do you feel about the Jaylen Pitre extension? Let me know. And reminder, like the damn video. Appreciate you.
Headlock, localize every time. Can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days. Opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's where we really